All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Welcome to the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister. Turn my Christmas tree lights on and ready to rock and roll. Albert here for the very last show before Christmas. Hi, Albert.
Good morning, Kim. With our start time, you'd think that Mark Thompson was here today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Usually 11:05 is like when Mark's here, and we're
I'm sorry. I
crunching
was
numbers at the last minute.
I ended the Nikki Maduro show a little bit late, so that's completely my fault. I'm sorry for the tardiness, everybody. Please click the like button if you could. I forgot to ask on Nikki's show, but I'll ask you here. Please click the like button. It really does help us because it moves us up in some magic YouTube universe and more people can see the show. So if you could click the like button for free, we'd love it. If you haven't subscribed and you're here, we'd love for you to do that too. And of course, themarkthompsonshow.com is where the Patreon and the PayPal links are located, as well as Mark's merch list and the website link to that. So there's some really good stuff on there as well for last minute New Year's gifts, you could say. All right. Coming up on the show, Michael Shore is not able to be here because he's traveling today. But I'm really excited to talk politics with Elex Michaelson. He is the host, you may know, of California's premier political television show called The Issue Is. So Elex will be with us in just a bit. Of course, Friday Fabulous Florida, bringing John Daly along with Albert to the show, and I think there might be a gator in there. So I always love a good gator. Very good.
I think it's a little bit of a big gator. I think
big old gator.
Bit. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, and then Michael Snyder will be here to talk movies, and I always love to compare what Tim Sika likes with what Michael Snyder likes. That they both like it, I'm totally in. But first, I have a little surprise for you on this last show before Christmas. A word from Mark Thompson aboard the cruise ship in South America. Let's take a look at this video that he has put together.
Kittens, Mark here. I'm off the coast of South America, missing doing the show and anxious to say hello. You can see over my right shoulder the Lysol pack that Courtney included. She has about 400 wet one packs, the Lysol pack. She's got a bunch of Purell things. She literally today washed her shoes because we walked through a bunch of seagull poop. That is the degree of
that's real.
I mean, concern, I might call it. Some would call it crazy phobia. I just call it concern that Courtney has for cleanliness. I am, of course, people are asking what cruise line. I don't know why you have to ask that. I mean, think about it. It's celebrity, of course. Yeah. I thought there'd be a lot of other celebrities here. Brad Pitt is celebrating his 60th birthday. I thought maybe he had. I'm the only celebrity on board.
Do you know who I am?
Believe me, it's
I'm
a small C on celebrity. Let's admit it. More than anything, I wanted to say thank you for giving us a great year. We're closing in on 20,000 subscribers. I have two requests for you. One of them is to share the show, if you would, please. When you share the show, you just hit that little arrow, of course, and it may be sharing a video. It may be sharing a short. You know, go into the shorts if there's something that you like. It might be something funny. It might be something political. It might be whatever. In sharing it to your Facebook page or other social media, it helps grow the show. And people go, oh, that's kind of a cool show. Maybe I'll check that out. That helps us. It costs you nothing. And number two, it's the giving season. If you can remember us in this season of giving, that's helpful. We have to make payroll. Last December was a huge December for us. This December, we have almost no December going in the way of giving. The reason for that, to be fair, is I'm not there. I'm away. It's all we can do to get the shows on. And I think we've really stepped up and given you some great shows. I've left some great conversations behind. And then, as you know, we had David K. Johnston, David Katz, Michael Shore. It was a murderer's row lineup that was on the other night. That in response to the Trump decision in Colorado from the Colorado court, and now bumping that to the Supreme Court for possible appeal. I thought some really insightful decisions. Maybe that's the video that you want to share. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend that you go back and check it out. All right, I'll wrap up just to say thank you. So many of you have shared, contributed, supported, and to all of you, I thank you so much. And until soon, bye bye.
Mark Thompson aboard the cruise ship. He is said to be filming another video that I will be able to show you next week, walking the halls. So I'm looking forward to that. But I don't know if you saw this story, Albert, about a cruise ship, but it made me think of Mark when I saw it. It's the Norwegian cruise ship MS Maud, and it lost power in the North Sea during a storm. It's a Norwegian cruise ship, and it suffered a power outage after a rogue wave shattered a window on the bridge. While it was sailing in the North Sea, the vessel lost its ability to navigate, and 266 passengers, 131 crew members. Everybody's safe. There's no power on the ship, though. The main engine is functioning, but the navigation systems and radar not functioning at all.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, kind of a scary situation with Mark aboard a cruise ship. You never know what can happen. And they did hit a storm. He said it was really scary. The ship was listing, and to the point where they went to the officials on the ship to seek out what we do in case of emergency. That's kind of how scary it got with that.
Knowing Mark is probably watching or going to see this in replay, that's probably not a good story to say. To tell him.
Sorry, never
So
mind. Just look away.
he's
Look
gonna-
away. Big weather though here in California as well. Super, super rainy. And there was a tornado in Oroville. This, you don't see this every day. A tornado
What?
uprooted trees and damaged buildings here in Northern California. This was, again, in Oroville. Tore shingles off people's roofs, uprooted trees, snapped the limbs right off trees, toppled a light pole. Yeah, wild. This is not common in our area. This was reported on December 19th between 5 and 6 p.m. in Butte County in Oroville. Look at that, just ripped a tree right out. The tornado's path measured about 4/10 of a mile, along with about 90 yards. It whipped winds up to 90 miles an hour. So they call that an EF1 on a scale that runs from EF0 to EF5. So it's a little tornado, but still a tornado in California.
Yeah, as an EF, we already have enough going on here between the fires and the earthquakes. I think we could do away with the tornadoes.
Tornadoes. Yeah, that's not what we want to bring to California.
Wildfire season with just a little, like a tiny tornado doesn't seem
Fire-nados. Yeah. Well, rainy. And here in the North Bay and in the Bay Area, it's been rainy, but in Southern California, they have some serious flooding going on. It rained so badly in Ventura that cars were stalling out. People were not able to drive down streets because the water was past the wheel well on some vehicles. Yeah, check it out. This is what it looks like in Santa Barbara. Pretty dramatic. Also in Ventura, the flooding was bad as well. They said in Santa Barbara that it was a record-setting amount of rainfall in 24 hours, that they hadn't ever seen this much rain before. So yeah, a lot of rain going on. This is a story.
There's never been anything like this.
Exactly. This is a story Mark sent us this morning. President Biden has pardoned thousands of people convicted of marijuana charges on federal lands and in Washington as well.
Where are my weed smokers at?
That's right. So if you were convicted or know someone who is convicted of use or simple possession of marijuana on federal lands or in the District of Columbia, in the latest round of executive clemencies, President Joe Biden has pardoned anyone involved in this. And he said it's meant to rectify racial disparities in the justice system. So there you go. In a statement, he said his actions would help make the promise of equal justice a reality. Criminal records for marijuana use and possession have imposed needless barriers to employment, to housing, to educational opportunities. The president saying too many lives have been upended because of our failed approach to marijuana, and it's time that we right these wrongs. And so that's it. And it's interesting that it comes from the federal government, because I think, Albert, that marijuana is still a federally banned substance. Is that
I
right?
believe, yeah, I think it's the states that have been allowing it, like
Yeah.
Colorado, California, Oregon.
And it's one of the reasons that marijuana companies now have been unable to bank because of federal banking laws, and banks could seize their money. So they don't tend to use banks, which is another problem because then you have money stolen and, there are businesses that are basically ripe for the pickings because everyone knows that there might be
Yeah,
lots
there's
of
just
cash
a
there.
whole bunch of cash there, there's
Hmm.
nothing, it
So
is a
again,
little inconvenient too as a millennial, Kim. I gotta go out of my way to get some cash. We're historically known not to not carry cash on us. We're just Apple Pay everywhere we
of
go.
course. But it's interesting to me then that the president of the United States would come out and say, listen, we have a failed policy on marijuana, and still we have failed policies at the federal level when states have made it, legal medically first and then recreationally. And now the president is pardoning thousands of people convicted on marijuana charges on federal lands and in DC. So maybe that signals a step forward and that more changes are coming at the federal level. I don't know. Thought that was interesting. Um, we'll talk about this with Elex Michaelson coming up, but this recorded phone call of Trump trying to another way tried to steal the election, this one out of Michigan. Pretty wild. We have the first phone call out of Georgia that we have heard here on the Mark Thompson show ad nauseum. I just need you to find 11,000, is it 780 votes? Well, here comes another one. And we don't have the audio. We haven't heard the audio, but many people have, including a couple of reporters for a Detroit newspaper who say this is a phone call where former President Trump, along with Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel, try to pressure two of the people sitting on the Wayne County Board of Canvassers not to sign the certification for the 2020 presidential election. So now there's another tape. I'm sure that it will be used at trial. Trump said on that recording, we've got to fight for our country. We can't let these people take our country away from us. In a moment where he's trying to take a vote that wasn't his. Oh, the irony, right? They say, if you can go home tonight, he said, don't sign it. We'll get you attorneys. That was from McDaniel. And Trump says, yes, we'll take care of attorneys. The two people involved left that meeting without signing the official statement of votes for Wayne County. And then the following day, they unsuccessfully attempted to rescind their votes in favor of certification. That was did not work. The vote was certified. But it's another moment where Trump was directly involved as an incumbent president with Republican officials in Michigan to try to undermine the will of the people voting for President Biden. I mean, I don't know what more can be said, what more evidence can be given that this is not a person that has any business running for president again. But here we are. California, or actually the military, is reclaiming an historic airbase. It's a U.S. Air Force base in the Pacific. It's the Pacific airfield. It was used to launch the atomic bombings. And so now the military is bringing back the Pacific Island airfield that launched these atomic bombings of Japan. They're bringing it back into commission because they're trying to basically have a presence there just in case of any escalating hostilities with China. So this is a moment where the Chinese military official and the US military top officials have just started communicating again. So it seems like things should be getting better. But now evidence that maybe we're preparing just in case because we have the reemergence of this airbase. The commander of Pacific Air Forces saying that the North Airfield on the island of Tinian will become an extensive facility once work has been completed to reclaim it from the jungle that has overgrown there since the base was last used as a U.S. Army force that abandoned it in 1946. So it hasn't been used since then. Tinian North, they say, they're going to be scooping out all of the growth that has. If you see pictures of this, it's wild. What used to be airstrips now just overgrown with green grass, trees, shrubbery. So they're going to have a lot of work to do to reclaim this airbase. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's do a little bit of news because I know we have Elex coming up, and I'm really excited to talk to him about politics, about all of these things. And I want to kind of get the news, make sure we get to the news, which we haven't. Sometimes I just don't have enough time for it. So let's do some news. What do you think?
Yep. Let me
Okay.
just get ready. So we're gonna just want to make sure we have Daily coming up next,
Yes, we do.
right? Okay, just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
Sorry if I messed that up.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It won't be the last thing I mess up today, that's for sure. On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. The UN Security Council is approving a resolution to boost humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The vote 13-0 in favor of the resolution, with the United States and Russia both abstaining. The final version of the measure does not call for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas and was unlikely to affect the military operations in Gaza. Well, here it is, the holiday travel rush off to a pretty smooth start. FlightAware reporting there have been little more than 1,300 delays and about 40 cancellations within, into, or out of the United States so far on this busy travel day. Officials expect more than 39 million passengers to travel by plane this holiday season. Nearly a dozen nonviolent drug offenders having their sentences commuted by President Biden, as we just mentioned. The president saying the 11 people are serving disproportionately long sentences and would have been eligible for lower sentences if charged today. President Biden will also issue pardons for additional offenses of simple possession and use of marijuana under federal and D.C. law. A key economic indicator shows inflation is rising, but less than what experts predicted. Personal consumption expenditures price index rose 0.1% in November, was up 3.2% from a year ago. That PCE index excludes volatile food and energy prices, though, but with those included, the index actually fell 0.1% on the month. Still no word on a motive after a gunman killed 14 people and injured dozens more at a university in Prague yesterday. Police say this gunman was a 24-year-old student at a university there. He took his own life when officers approached him. The officials believe he also killed his father earlier in the day. So really sad situation. Former President Trump is seeking a 90-day delay in the trial proceedings with writer E. Jean Carroll's defamation lawsuit against him. Trump's attorney said the delay is necessary to determine options for appeal. His request in the defamation lawsuit comes the same week the Colorado Supreme Court banned him from the state's primary presidential ballot, and special counsel Jack Smith asked the U.S. Supreme Court for an immediate ruling related to presidential immunity on the election interference cases against him. A report from a national real estate company shows only 15% of the homes for sale are affordable for the average U.S. family. And that is down from last year when 20% of listed homes were considered affordable.
What?
The study reviewed listings from the top 97 metropolitan areas in the country. It's kind of a sad situation where people can't afford to buy a home. As mentioned, Los Angeles commuters have been dealing with flooded streets and numerous collisions, the result of strong overnight downpours. Flood watches throughout Southern California are set to expire early this afternoon. The heavy rains, though, started hitting parts of Arizona and the Phoenix metro areas as well. Phoenix is under a flood watch until early Saturday morning. So, The Aquaman sequel isn't making big waves at the box office. They're a little worried because it hasn't made as much money as its predecessor. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom earned $4.5 million from Thursday preview showings. It's about half of what the 2018 original Aquaman made. Forecasters expect the sequel to take between $35 and $40 million during the holiday weekend. So who knows? Maybe it can rebound and make a little bit money.
Yeah, maybe
of
they're over
money.
his
Yeah.
power of just talking to fish. You know,
Yeah, I
I think
guess
that's
so.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's Jason Momoa, so you would think that would be the box office draw, you know?
You can watch that on mute, Kim. Just like you could just visibly just
That's all.
be
That's
entertained.
all you need. The man at the center of one of the Navy's largest corruption and bribery cases is back in the United States. Former defense contractor Leonard Glenn Francis. Remember him? He was known as Fat Leonard. He was in a Florida court yesterday preparing to be sent to San Diego. Fled the country in 2022, but was returned to the United States as part of a prisoner swap deal with Venezuela. So Fat Leonard is back. He will face trial once he is back in Southern California. So here he comes. Southern California Congressman Adam Schiff holds a significant lead in the race to fill the U.S. Senate seat left vacant by the late Dianne Feinstein. According to a new Politico Morning Consult poll, the 12-term Democrat from Burbank has support from 28% of the people who say they will vote in the March 5th primary. Republican and former Los Angeles Dodgers great Steve Garvey is the next closest contender with 19%, and Democrats Katie Porter and Barbara Lee have 17 and 14% of likely voter support, respectively. And we will talk about that coming up in just a few moments. It looks like some Californians are worried that artificial intelligence might take their jobs. There's a new poll, similarly from the Politico Morning Consult group, that found 51% of those surveyed are concerned about being replaced by AI in the next 5 years. The jobs most exposed are said to include budget analysis, tax preparers, and web developers. The state legislature is set to vote on at least a dozen proposals to try to regulate this technology in its next session. But yeah, a lot of people see the writing on the wall. A patent dispute is prompting Apple to stop selling some of its watches online. The dispute revolves around the watch's ability to measure blood oxygen levels. Consumers currently can't buy the Series 9 and the Ultra 2 smartwatches on the Apple website because of all of this. Google is addressing competition concerns now in Germany, the European country raising objections about the bundling of services for automobiles. Google has prepared a proposal to offer alternatives to vehicle manufacturers besides Google Maps, Google Play, and Google Assistant, which are from right now currently bundled. I don't know if you heard this one, but Tesla is recalling more than 120,000 vehicles in the United States.
What?
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the cabin doors can become unlocked during a crash. Tesla manufactures a large percentage of the vehicles that it sells here in the U.S. at its Bay Area plant in Fremont. So a serious situation, and that is prompting a recall for Teslas. Drive sober or get pulled over. Several police agencies throughout California are taking part in that national campaign this holiday season. Officers spreading the message about the dangers of drunk driving. And on top of that, the CHP is starting the first of its 2 DUI crackdowns today to keep everyone safe on the road. Starts at 6 p.m., continues until Tuesday. The second one is for New Year's weekend. California is also building another 613 affordable homes. More than a third of them will be reserved for people living on the street in 5 communities. It's the latest funding in the Project Home Key program. Governor Gavin Newsom saying that it continues to be one of the state's most successful efforts to quickly create housing for people struggling with homelessness. The program has funded more than 14,000 units so far. Some more help on the way for children and young adults. California just launched a certified wellness coach program to support their overall physical, emotional, and mental well-being. The coaches will be hired to work in schools and with community-based organizations as well, assisting clinical staff and care teams. I'm telling you, schools need extra help. The certificate will initially be free. Annual scholarships will be available along with grants for employers as well. Wanted to Also, let you know of some Bay Area news going on. Safer streets coming to Berkeley. This after a hit and run where a driver hit a 7-year-old boy trick-or-treating on Halloween. He's still recovering, but watched from his wheelchair yesterday as crews painted brand new sidewalks right near the crash scene at Derby and Maple streets. Other improvements will be made there as well. The city also plans to add flat-topped speed bumps, new crosswalks, and possible stop signs in other places. So a Bay Area fire department is using a new tool to prevent disaster. This is in Mountain View, where crews now have cutting edge devices to fight electric vehicle fires. This cools the inside of a battery to keep flames from reigniting days later. That's what happened during a 2018 Tesla crash that caught fire on Highway 101. The captain says this will not only save water, but allow firefighters to back away from potentially toxic smoke as well. That's a good thing. San Francisco International Airport bracing for its busiest day before Christmas. As mentioned, very big travel day. Yesterday, some lines just to check in for flights were spilling out into the terminal at SFO. The TSA expects almost 500,000 passengers to come
There's
through
never
SFO
been anything like this.
this week. Yeah, traffic jumped 14% last month. Officials predict the same by New Year's Eve. So if you're headed to SFO or any of the Bay Area airports, just prepare because it's going to be one of those, one of those days. So if you're not done with your Christmas shopping, you should know that more than 140 million people are expected to shop tomorrow on what's being called Super Saturday. The National Retail Federation is expecting 142 million people to get last-minute gifts the Saturday before Christmas. 37% of Super Saturday shoppers are planning to close out their online carts and hit the stores to ensure that the gifts are under the tree in time. Meantime, Metro North Railroad is rolling out its Shopper Special in New York. Trains to and from New York City are longer to accommodate more shoppers. Are you all done, Albert, or are you going to be a Super Saturday shopper as well?
I actually just wrapped up yesterday. I was a couple days ahead of the Super Saturday, but it was very last minute. Yeah.
Well, lastly, the New York City townhouse from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, is up for sale. The Upper West Side home where Kevin McAllister, no relation, outsmarts the Sticky Bandits at his uncle's house has been listed for $6.7 million on Zillow. The home has gotten quite the upgrade since it was featured in the movie. Now has a wine cellar, that's nice, a built-in snack bar, a snack bar, and a private garden. So it looks like the McAllister's uncle finally finished all those renovations on the home. And look at that. There you go. So
they probably should have just kept all the traps. If they kept the traps on it, they could have bumped it up a couple more millions, I feel
Don't
like.
you think?
Yeah.
Exactly. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. You call them at 925-699-4576. You say, smash it with your iron rod, and you get your 10%
with your
off.
iron rod.
That is correct. Now, it might be too late unless you're going out to the vineyard this weekend or the winery this weekend to get your wine in time for Christmas, but you probably can get it in time for New Year's. Check in with Rich at 925-699-4576. Say, smash it with your iron rod. That's how you get your 10% off. And if you call him, you can ask him if Santa's making an appearance this weekend out at the winery because it's really fun. They have a lot of events there as well, and they have great places, both indoors and outdoors, to hold a party or a conference or an event, and it's a beautiful area. So Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore, thank you for doing business with them because they are a big supporter of the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, what's up, cats and kittens? Yeah, just having a swinging holiday season, aren't we? Whatever you're doing, whatever you're planning, hope it's going well, and I hope it continues to go well. We've got a big year planned for you on this show. Oh, yeah. Next year is going to be even bigger and better because of you. And let's get into the spirit of the holiday season. I mean, it's about humanity. When has humanity ever let us down? Oh, wait. That's all humanity does is let us down, come to think of it. Hey, let's not focus on humanity maybe this time. Look, we've got each other, right? Happy holidays from all of us. And Happy New Year.
Hey, hey. Yeah, it's the holiday edition of the Mark Thompson Show. Thank you for being here. And I'm excited because it's Friday, and I know Friday means a Friday Fabulous Florida. So let's do it. Albert, let's bring in John Daly. Hey, John Daly, what's going on, friend? Look at you.
Hello, Kim.
Hello to you. Yeah, Friday Fabulous Florida. Let us get it underway.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
All right, we have a lot of stories, so let's just jump right in, John Daly. A Bass Pro Shops fish thief is at large after allegedly swiping live tarpon from the Florida store's pond. This happened. They call it a rather fishy situation in Southwest Florida in Fort Myers. Deputies are on the hunt for a man accused of grabbing a fishing net from a shelf at the hunting and fishing store at the Gulf Coast Town Center and removing a 50-pound live tarpon from the store's fish pond on Wednesday night, then ran from the store with the fish in an unknown direction.
Well, I think it's in that direction.
Yeah, well, a witness shot that video. Look at him there, just kind of moving on with that big fish. Wow. They're trying to locate the retail theft suspect, but it's not your normal retail theft, the deputies wrote on Facebook. We guess you could say this one is a will officially catch your eye. It will officially catch your eye. Yeah,
I got it.
So they're working with their animal cruelty task force, which it was going to be fished anyway. So I don't know. But the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission is aware of the incident at the Bass Pro Shop. And they're working and they will provide more updates. So there you have it. A fish thief. Captain America was caught. He was trying to enter the Florida Air Force Base for the top secret meeting.
What?
Yes, he was. He got caught. He was not able to get into the top secret meeting. I don't know what we're going to do. This is an armed Florida man who identifies himself as Captain America. He was indicted on Tuesday after allegedly trying to enter an Air Force base for a top secret meeting with a commander. Baruch Roche II, charged with attempted possession of a firearm in a federal facility after this incident at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa happened November 3rd. Roach apparently trying to enter the Air Force Base, but stopped by security personnel at the gate. The 33-year-old from Tampa was asked to show his ID, but allegedly refused, identified himself as Captain America, and then demanded entry into the base, saying he had a meeting with the General of the United States Special Operations Command to provide top secret information. When he was denied entry, he got argumentative, threatened to come back every day to look up the officers denying him entry. Yeah, his suspicious behavior landed him in custody. When they searched his car, they found an AR-15 rifle in the truck and 5 magazines loaded with 125 rounds of ammo.
Well, this is Baruch II. I'm hoping there's no Baruch III.
I guess not. We're done with the Baruches. Florida authorities wrangled a 600-pound, 12-foot-long alligator, and it was caught.
There you go.
Merry Christmas at the shopping mall. That's right, a big one. Authorities in Florida captured this massive alligator. It was lurking outside a mall and had to be relocated to the reptile. And this incident was all captured on video. The Lee County Sheriff's Office took to Facebook saying they were called to the Coconut Point Mall in Estero on Thursday, where they found this 12-foot-long alligator weighing 600 pounds, and they got this massive guy to safety. You can see them in the video carrying it. I mean, that's a heavy alligator.
You know how it got heavy, though? All that eating at the mall.
Eating at the mall, right?
Yeah.
Sbarro pizza.
Yep.
Too much nachos, maybe.
Carbs.
Yeah, too many carbs. Little
Pretzels.
Hot
soda
dog on
at
a
the
stick.
mall.
I think it was hot dog
Yeah.
on a stick.
Hot dog
yeah.
on a stick. That was it. Hot dog on a stick. Yes. The state record for the longest alligator is a male that measured 14 feet and 13 and a half inches in Brevard County. The state's record weight for a male alligator
There's
in
never been
Aleutian
anything
County
like this.
weighed 1,043 pounds. So, in the scheme of things, a 600 pounder isn't the biggest, but it's pretty big. So, yeah, at the mall. Hey, just wanted to do a little Christmas shopping, you know. A
Totally.
Florida man has been arrested after targeting a Mexican restaurant multiple times. The owner's getting frustrated. And so finally the arrest comes. This happened in Pensacola, where a 22-year-old Florida man who apparently stole more than $800 from a Mexican restaurant last week and then came back because that was a good haul, came
Right.
back days later for some more, has been arrested. Jordan Grandison of Pensacola booked into the jail on attempted robbery with a weapon, aggravated assault, grand theft, and burglary charges. The owner of La Cabana Mexican Kitchen says she thinks that he has targeted her taco truck restaurant 4 times in the last month. And she said she's lost out on about $5,000 because of all of this. At least 3 incidents so far. At one point, she says he just went right in, opened the cash register, and took $830 before running away. Looks like he's used some type of tool to slide into the top drawer and pop the latch and then just took off with the cash. He was last seen on surveillance tape wearing a hospital mask and a purple jacket with a yellow stripe. 4 days later, another incident. She had just finished counting the register, put the money on the counter in a clear Ziploc bag, and here he comes, same outfit, sneaking inside, trying to snatch the bag of money, holding a knife this time in a threatening manner. She was able.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah, she was able to grab the money bag before he got it. She also grabbed the metal receipt spike and stabbed at him several times.
Yeah.
She said, I felt really scared. And then another employee hurried from the kitchen to try to throw hot water on him, try to get him out of there. So he left that time without any money. But 2 days later, he's back again. And this time, he's hiding behind a neighboring building right next to the restaurant. Deputies see it, they come and they arrest him. He's wearing that same purple jacket with the same yellow stripe as seen in the other incidents. And he has a pocket knife and a hospital mask. And he has a key to the restaurant's cash register this time that he probably swiped the first time. So the owner of the restaurant says she's struggling to maintain staff to retain them because of all these break-ins, and that the holidays haven't been the best for business. So she's concerned that this is going to affect her business there. I hope it doesn't.
I hope Mr. Grandison got a Grandison felony.
Yeah, let's hope he did.
It would be funny if it was like somebody, his spouse or his girlfriend works at the same place and she just wants some time off. So this guy's just terrorizing the place. And she's like,
Oh,
yeah, I feel uncomfortable
no.
going to work today.
Mm-mm.
Don't give them ideas, Albert.
No. A Florida woman has punched her husband during a fight over cigarettes. Yeah. I'm willing to bet there's alcohol involved. A Florida woman found herself behind bars after she allegedly got into a physical fight with her husband over a pack of cigarettes.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Indeed, Ron Owens. Jasmine Cummings arrested and charged with battery after 2 of her kids told police about this incident that unfolded in a mobile home neighborhood.
The kids narked on her.
That's right. The 31-year-old woman told police she hit her husband multiple times due to him making statements about her mother. That's them's fighting words. He reportedly took some cigarettes from her, which is what sparked the fight. She also told police she punched him in the face with a closed fist several times. Her knuckles were slightly reddened, but there were no other marks. Her husband, on the other hand, had an extremely red and bloodshot eye from this incident. They've been married for 14 years. They have 3 children in their home. She's out of jail now. $1,000 bond.
Those kids will turn out well.
Well, it's interesting this case turns this way because even though she's punching him, it doesn't look like he hit her back, right? Or he might be it might have been a he said, she said thing. So interesting that she's the attacker in this situation.
I would have punched myself in the eye too. Make it look a little worse, depending on,
Right.
All right, let's talk about this theft. This is not something I would steal, but hey, Florida police are arresting 3 men who allegedly stole hundreds of gallons of used cooking oil. It's worth thousands, but that seems rather hard to transport.
What?
Yeah, it happened. Speaking of grand theft, they are charged with it after targeting several restaurants, stealing their cooking oil. The Port Orange Police Department said officers worked with corporate security specialists to track down 3 individuals suspected of stealing the cooking oil. They were targeting multiple restaurants in the area, and they were sneaking in during the overnight hours. They were seen in a large box truck outfitted with a pump to allegedly support their operation, which they would then back the truck up, roll out a hose, and pump out the used cooking oil. About 330 gallons were stolen on December 16th, though it's believed they may be part of a larger organization responsible for thousands of dollars worth of stolen oil in this area. And they have all been arrested, these 3, and charged with grand theft for stealing the cooking oil, the used cooking oil.
Port Orange, that's where Mar-a-Lago is, right?
Is it? I don't know.
No.
I don't know where it is.
Get it? Port Orange.
Oh, Port Orange because he's orange. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, no, that was a good one.
Half of the reason that I put this story is in here. It was for you to try to read the names. John, do you want to try? I'm gonna put it in
do
the
you
private
like
chat.
how I skipped the names? I did
Yeah,
that
you
on
did
purpose
skip the
because I
names,
took
but-
one look at them and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'll
put
give
it
it a
in
try,
the private
though.
chat.
I'll give it a try if you'd like me to. This is you see pictured here, 49-year-old Rui Lin of St. John's, Florida, 35-year-old Youngki Chen of St. Augustine, and 42-year-old Zhengyu Liu of Flushing, New York.
That was pretty good, Ken. That was
Thank
very
you.
good.
Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Thank you for making me do it anyway. Let's jump in to a rainwater pond along with this man who did just that, trying to run from the police. Never a good idea. A motorcycle driver in Hernando County led deputies on a chase that ultimately ended with him jumping into a pond built to hold stormwater. This started with a traffic stop early Wednesday morning, about 1:30 in the morning, where a driver ran a red light. As the sergeant approached the motorcycle, the driver, 29-year-old Luis Jose Cabrera, revved up the engine and drove his motorcycle in a circle in the middle of the road, shouting, "He didn't do anything wrong." And then he sped off. Yeah, because they're going to leave you alone on your say-so. The sergeant radioed all nearby deputies with a complete description of Cabrera and his motorcycle. A short time later, one of the deputies found Cabrera's motorcycle parked outside of a restaurant. Deputies went in. When Cabrera saw them coming, he ran out the back door, jumped over a fence, and dove into a floodwater retention pond, trying to escape. After a brief conversation with deputies, he was taken into custody, charged with fleeing law enforcement, resisting arrest, driving an unregistered motorcycle, driving with an unendorsed license, and possession of what substance, John Daly?
Meth?
Interesting. Cocaine.
Oh.
Hasn't anybody been a weed?
It was an
No.
It was an upper.
It was along the same line, so I think you get credit for that. All right, here's the last one. This Florida man has smothered his nephew's meatball sandwich with eye drop solution because he said he hated him that day.
Wow.
This Florida man finding himself behind bars as well after putting eye drop solution all over the meatball sandwich. James Leach arrested and charged with poisoning of food or water after this incident that happened in Pinellas Park on Wednesday. According to an arrest affidavit from the Pinellas Park Police Department, the 45-year-old was at a business and asked an employee for a bottle of eye drops, saying he had dry eyes. The employee told police Leach was a regular customer and he was having issues with his nephew, the victim in this case. Leach reportedly made it a point to tell the employee he hated his nephew that day. And when the employees handed the bottle of eye drops to Leach, he opened one of the containers of food and poured the solution all over his nephew's meatball sandwich. The witness stated that could hurt someone. And Leach responded by saying that it would only cause his nephew to S himself and puke his brains out. So police obtained the surveillance footage showing Leach allegedly taking the bottle of eye drop solution and pouring it on the sandwich. Officials were able to get his address using the business's computer system because of prior purchases and deliveries where he and his nephew both live. The nephew said he only ate a small portion of the sandwich, but he didn't know that his uncle had poured eye drop solution all over it. He refused medical treatment. Police say Leach and his nephew have a long history of domestic-related incidents, plus several calls for police service at the home. Leach taken into custody, taken to the Pinellas County Jail, where he remains on $50,000 bond. I didn't know it was dangerous to consume. I mean, who would drink it or eat it? But I didn't know it was dangerous to consume that.
Yeah, well, it's chemicals. I don't think you'd want to put that in that slimy lubricating chemical in there. No. Karen makes a good point. He looks capable of crime.
He really does look capable of crime. Yeah.
Kim, when you were saying they had a long history, I thought you were going to say they had a long history of doing this to their sandwiches.
To
try to poison each other, but no, it didn't go.
Well, it's hard to get the recipe just right.
It really is. It really is. All right, let's pick a favorite. We go back over these ones. This Florida man went fishing in the Bass Pro Shop pond and fled with a 50-pound fish. Do you like Captain America, who was caught after trying to enter a Florida Air Force base for a top secret meeting? Or maybe you like Florida authorities wrangling a 600-pound, 12-foot-long alligator at the mall. A Florida man arrested after targeting a Mexican restaurant multiple times. A Florida woman punching her husband during a fight over cigarettes. A Florida man, 3 men arrested after stealing, allegedly, hundreds of gallons of used cooking oil worth thousands. A Florida man leaping into a rainwater pond trying to escape deputies. Or the Florida man with the eye drops and the meatball sandwich, who hated his nephew. What do you think, John Daly?
I think I'm going to go with the fish thief just because it's original. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before.
No, we don't think we have either. I don't know.
It was brazen. It was quick and dirty.
There's never been anything like this.
Down and dirty. Plus, they have video, and that's always a plus in my book. Albert, what do you think?
I didn't have that in one of the options in the polls. I'm sorry. So if you didn't see that option, please vote just by typing in the chat. I did have massive gator, burglar, deja vu, don't touch my cigarettes, and I wouldn't eat that meatball sub with spelling it with EYE.
What's it look like?
I have
so
to go.
far?
Yeah, I'd have to go with the burglar deja vu. Just the guy coming back wearing the same outfit too. Just not the smartest of characters, but only in Florida.
Only in Florida.
Those options sound like chapters from like a memoir that someone wrote from Florida.
I was inspired this week, John.
Yeah.
What's your you're picking the thief that keeps coming back. I think I'm gonna pick the 600-pound, 12-foot-long alligator at the mall. I just have to. In Florida. And that doesn't happen anywhere but there, right? So I'll go with that one.
Yeah, we have single issue voters also in our chat too, who always just vote for the Gators. So, and Kim, I feel like you're aligned with them.
I tend to be, although it takes a pretty special story to knock me out of alligator territory. But I have gone for the other stories before. I don't know. What does it look like in the chat right now?
The massive gators is in the lead by 40%, and then the meatball subs at 26 with the burglar. So it's not too close.
Okay.
But and Florida did seem pretty tame this week. I feel like it's the holiday season. Maybe they're
people are on
they're
their best
ramping
behavior.
down. Actually, yeah, they're not ramping up.
Square likes the pond escape. Katie voted cigarettes, but Storm Pond is very strong. We got a fish thief from Jeff Davis. The bass thief from Vilma. So she agrees with you, John Daly. Mama Day 3 boys going for the gator. Absolutely. Yeah, Julie says it's the gator for sure. Captain America. John likes that one. All right. Commentator wants to know if we can only get 4 choices in the polls. You probably can't put unlimited choices, right?
Yeah, only 4 choices in the poll, so I need to make editorial decisions here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of have to pick the ones you think are going to be the most popular.
And I was inspired by the, I wanted to make some chapter titles here.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do. Next Friday it'll probably be a lot of holiday related stories, so that'll be fun. Thank you guys for participating. John Daly, I'll see you on the after party live.
The after party live at 105 Pacific.
Right on. I'll be there with you. Thank you for joining us for
Bye-bye.
Friday Fabulous Florida. Bye, John Daly.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, how about we do just a touch more of news before we start talking our politics? What do you think, Albert?
Yeah, and then we have Elex Michaelson coming up, right?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. As we mentioned, it is a big old travel day. The TSA expects to screen 2.5 million flyers today. Luckily, the busiest holiday travel day today is off to a smooth start. Just over 2,400 delays, about 60 cancellations now within, into, or out of the U.S. That according to flight tracker FlightAware. Officials are expecting more than 39 million people to travel by plane this holiday season. Southwest Airlines says it has invested heavily in de-icing equipment. They've revamped their whole computer system, and they have plenty of staff this year. This comes after the last year's big snafu where they saw nearly 17,000 flights canceled, hundreds of thousands of passengers left stranded, and mountains of lost luggage. So things are going a little better for them this year, you could say. The UN Security Council is approving a resolution to boost humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The vote comes 13-0 in favor of this resolution, with the US and Russia abstaining. The final version of the measure does not call for a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas, and it's unlikely to affect military operations in Gaza. The United States previously vetoed 2 resolutions calling for a ceasefire, arguing that would only benefit Hamas. This follows reports that Hamas rejected a week-long truce deal that would have seen the release of 40 hostages by that militant group, and they said no. Powerful rainstorm is causing big problems from Southern California to Arizona. Strong overnight downpours had LA commuters dealing with flooded streets, plenty of collisions this morning too. Forecasters say the storm could pour out a month's worth of rain over the next few days, leading to flash flooding and debris flow. The Phoenix metro area also dealing with a heavy downpour at this hour. Former President Trump requesting a delay of trial proceedings in the defamation lawsuit against him by writer E. Jean Carroll. Trump asking for a 90-day delay in this case. An appeals court ruled last week Trump can't assert immunity in that case. Lawyers for the former president say the delay is needed in order for Trump to consider options of appeal. As we mentioned earlier, a national real estate company is saying most Americans can't afford to buy homes listed for sale in the United States. A report from Redfin yesterday looked at listings from the top 97 metropolitan areas in the country and found only 15% of the homes for sale were affordable for the average U.S. family. And that is a decrease from last year when about 20% of the listed homes were considered affordable. One reason for the high price could be the homes are in short supply. In June, Realtor.com said the number of homes for sale this year was down compared to last year. So the Dodgers, can we do Dodger news on this show? I think we can, maybe. The Dodgers have now spent more than $1 billion to bring 2 of the biggest Japanese baseball stars in the world to Los Angeles. The Dodgers and pitcher, here's a name that I might not be able to pronounce, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, I think I got it, are all in agreement on a 12-year, $325 million contract. The 25-year-old will join Shohei Ohtani, who got a record-breaking 10-year, $700 million deal from the Dodgers earlier this month. Yamamoto had a nearly 1,000 strikeouts in his 7 seasons in the Nippon Professional Baseball League in Japan. He was also the league's MVP. He won that award 3 times. The New York Yankees and Mets had also each offered Yamamoto large deals, but He went with the Dodgers. Actor Charlie Sheen has been attacked at his home in Malibu. Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies say Sheen's neighbor was the attacker. On Wednesday, deputies arrested a woman who goes by the name Electra Shock. According to TMZ, the woman forced her way into Sheen's house, attempted to strangle him, and ripped his shirt. The 2.5 Men star was not taken to the hospital. Sheen says his neighbor squirted some kind of sticky liquid onto his car before entering his home. It's unclear what led up to this incident, if there's some type of neighboring dispute or what exactly happened there. Pretty wild.
That's not a real name, Kim.
Electroshock? No?
Yeah, I don't think so. That's a stage name.
Electroshock.
I'm afraid to Google that safely here, Kim.
Well, we had this story about a mobile restaurant that kept being attacked in Florida, but now one from Long Beach. Robbers held a taco truck worker at gunpoint and then punched him in the face. Happened this week in Long Beach. Surveillance video shows the two men walking to this taco truck, pointing guns at this man and then punching him. It's not clear if they got away with money or other valuables. Other food truck workers who do business in this area say they're frightened that this can happen to them too. No arrests have been made at this point in that case. A lawsuit, I should say, against CBS and the woman formerly known as Judge Judy has officially been dismissed. A court of appeals agreed with a Los Angeles Superior Court ruling to dismiss a claim by two women that they were owed millions of dollars when Judy Scheindlin sold the rights to the library of episodes of the show. Judge Judy, the woman who were the developers of the popular show's first season, said they were entitled to nearly $5 million. A three-judge panel on the Second District Court of Appeals agreed with the earlier ruling that suit should be dismissed. And so it was. Sorry, Judge Judy. December is expected to be the most costly month to serve migrants at the southern border. San Diego's Migrant Welcome Center helps processed asylum seekers get connected to their sponsors across the country. Kathy Lembo, the CEO of South Bay Community Services, says they've been operating the Mid-City Welcome Center since it opened in October. The county provided a $3 million budget. She says they already used half, and the rest will be spent this month. Lembo says they serve about 800 migrants every day, but they only stay at the center for a few hours. The center helps them with transportation, shelter, food, clothing. Another $3 million is approved for January, and Lembo estimates they'll spend more than $1 million a month starting next year. That's a lot of money, I'll tell you. All right, let's talk about Nike cuts. Declining worldwide demand is causing Nike to find $2 billion in cuts over the next 3 years. There will be layoffs and use of more automation as well. Nike now forecasts its sales to grow by just 1%. Nike digital sales are down 22%. Sales in Greater China also down. The company has not released the details of the layoffs, but again, they have to find $2 billion in cuts over the next couple of years. So
yeah, I think I'm obviously huge golf fan, and Tiger Woods has been Nike's one of biggest sponsors, and he's currently not wearing their shoes. So there's been rumors that he might be getting let go. Just rumors. So I mean, if a big name like that's gonna go too, so I think they are facing some financial difficulties. Well, I say difficulties. I'm sure they're still doing pretty well for themselves.
I think so too, but it could be that it's not necessarily rank and file staff, but it could be they just cut some of the celebrities that they have endorsement deals with, you think?
Maybe, and I think there's rumors also that they're just cutting out the whole golf apparel stuff too. They already cut out their clubs years ago, so.
No, yeah. In the North Bay, the Crystal Geyser Bottled Water Company will be ending operations in Calistoga next month. The plant will be closing for good January 31st after nearly 48 years in operation. Its remaining 28 employees will be laid off. The number of workers at that facility has been decreasing since 2019 when there were 94 employees. Just 3 years ago, the plant was approved for a 10,000 square foot expansion, and the company invested more than $3 million in renovations, the facility improvements, and upgraded landscaping there. But now the Crystal Geyser Bottled Water Company is ending operations in Calistoga. So can you still call it Crystal Geyser? I don't know. I don't think so. Not sure. Fire damage to a residential storage barn in southwest Santa Rosa is estimated at $100,000. No one injured in this fire. Happened late Wednesday night. That storage barn, attached to a single-story building, had been used as a lounge space. Investigators think the fire started accidentally and involved a portable propane heater meant to be used outdoors. Very dangerous this time of year. This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee. Find them at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, and you can get your exclusive Mark Thompson 10% off. All you have to do is type in Mark T. It's all together, Mark T, at checkout. And please take a look at the holiday blend coffee if you're a coffee drinker. I'm a tea drinker, so I love the ginger mint and the Moroccan mint. They have all kinds of good stuff. Check out the website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And again, thank you for supporting one of our sponsors. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Smash it with your iron rod. Who's Mark Thompson?
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
What he's got going here is a situation.
It's unbelievably offensive.
Put up your pants, my man. Pull up those pants.
Ralph Nader just sent me a book. Did he send you one too?
I offer this sincere apology to you today.
Everything is going extremely well.
Call me a liar. Is that what you call him?
You, sir, are a liar.
You are a cover-up artist, and you are a liar.
Liar, liar, your pants are on fire!
Google told me.
Can you let him finish, sir?
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
No.
I'm going to tell you what I think.
What are the porn stars doing?
Do you have a secret now?
Doesn't anybody better weed?
100% effective, how about that?
Say what?
And this is their new home.
There is no defense for my conduct.
I misspoke. I stand corrected.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Time's up, mother effers.
It is the Mark Thompson Show, and welcome back to it. Kim McAllister in for Mark Thompson, who is on a cruise ship in South America, and he won't be back on the show until the new year. So
Hey, which one of you is Mark Thompson?
And we don't have Michael Schur today either. He is headed to a Trump rally somewhere doing something, but I'm really excited because we have a really special guest today to talk politics. He is the special guest of the Mark Thompson Show today, the host of the premier political television show in California. It's called The Issue Is. So you've seen him traveling with and in interviews with Governor Gavin Newsom and other key California and national political figures throughout the past year as well. I know Mark Thompson is a massive fan of his work. Please welcome to the show, Elex Michaelson. Yay!
Hi, Kim. Good to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Look at you. I'm loving the background. And what's the star? Is that a star of the Hollywood Walk of Fame behind you? What do we have?
It is. I'm not on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but I've hosted several events for them. So the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, who puts on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, sent me a commemorative star with my name on it. But it is an official commemorative star from the people who do it.
What?
Not just when you buy at the gift store.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, let's talk some politics, because I saw this story and I thought, this is my first one. I have to bring this up. So we've had this dueling war of words between former President Trump and the Jack Smith, the special counsel, where he says, first Trump says, you know what? You don't really need to rush on my account. And then Jack Smith says, yes, there's absolutely a reason to rush this Trump case and the question of, does he have presidential immunity when it comes to these election interference cases? And so, I mean, it remains to be seen. I tend to think the Supreme Court will go with what Donald Trump wants, just because of, I'm jaded after the Roe v. Wade decision, but maybe they will make a fast decision on this.
Have you seen the breaking news in the last 10 minutes?
Well, tell me, because I've been on the air. I haven't.
Okay. So your gut was correct. The Supreme Court has decided not to do a rush decision, which essentially means they're going to put it up to the federal court first. They didn't make a decision, though, one way or another. They didn't say that Jack Smith was right or wrong. They just said that they were not going to make a decision for now. And so that leads to a longer runway for a potential trial. Jack Smith basically saying, let's cut to the chase. Let's go right to the deciders. Why jump through all these hoops?
Right.
Let's get to it. And they said, no, got to jump through the hoops. So there will not be a ruling, certainly in the next few days, when it comes to Jack Smith and immunity from the Supreme Court.
And that seems to play into what Donald Trump wants, which is delay, delay, delay. And that's how he kind of horns into these cases, and they drag on forever. And now we have a case that could potentially go past the election.
Right. And some would argue that maybe that was the reason that he ran in the first place, to deal with some of these legal troubles. Of course, the Georgia case, he could not pardon himself because that's a state case. But this federal case, he probably could. So you could have a scenario if he won the presidency. One of the first things he would do would be to pardon himself in terms of this case, and potentially pardon other people associated with these federal cases and never be held accountable.
Yeah.
So it's yet another thing that raises the stakes for 2024, and yet another thing that raises the potential for real polarization at a level in this country we perhaps haven't seen since the Civil War. Just, the concept of on any of these cases, the idea that Donald Trump could be behind bars on election day in November as the Republican nominee for president, and then potentially win the presidency while being incarcerated, is such a crazy concept if you think about it, but also not that far off a possibility based off of what's happening.
Quoting Fani Willis, who's of course the prosecutor in Georgia, and she said, "We're not going to go lightly on him. If he's convicted here, his penalty will be as severe as it would be for anybody else." So it just made me think of it when you talk about possibly having a former president sitting behind bars. I think I've heard so many people say that's not a real possibility. He may face consequences, but they won't put him in jail.
She's certainly hinting that she would try to, because that's what they're potentially trying to do with other people. And it is interesting, especially in that Georgia case, that you are seeing all the people in Trump's orbit be held accountable. You've seen the folks who went to the Capitol on January 6th on his behalf be held accountable. But we have not seen Donald Trump be held accountable. In fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen his poll numbers rise because of all of these criminal charges against him. We've seen the Republican base rally to support him. We've seen it help him when it comes to fundraising. Could there finally be a moment for this man who has lived so much of his life on the public stage, who literally was a reality show star, where reality was sometimes skewed and made up in the producing of a TV show, finally face real consequences or not?
It's the craziest thing. And the more I see him with this now 44% over Nikki Haley's, I think she's, way down in the 20%, and she's rising, but still it's the wildest thing that he has such a lead in this race. Like, the baggage that he carries just doesn't matter to people.
Although then there are other reports even today. There was a poll that came out last night that showed he only had a 4-point lead over Nikki Haley in New Hampshire. I mean, I think the big question, and you never know which poll to look at or the rest of it. But there were also a report overnight that Ron DeSantis's super PAC, Never Back Down, is backing down.
They're pulling money. They're not running the TV ad.
And New Hampshire. So, it is not crazy as a concept that if Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie say dropped out and backed Nikki Haley, that Nikki Haley would have a shot at winning the Republican nomination. I mean, if you combine the support of the Never Trumpers into one person, which didn't happen in 2016, remember, because too many people stayed in it, there is a chance for him not to be the nominee. Now, that for Democrats is potentially a really good thing because they think he's a threat to the country.
Right.
But if Nikki Haley also has a much higher chance of beating Joe Biden in a general election, and is probably would be a real favorite if she became the nominee.
I love that you said that, because I was just going to ask you what's better for Democrats in this situation. On one hand, I mean, people that feel that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, any step he takes closer to the presidency is not something you want to see. So that he could be knocked out before a primary election, to people that want to preserve democracy, is a win.
Mm-hmm.
But again, who are Democrats more likely to beat? I don't know.
Although the question is, do you want to take that risk?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And that a lot of people feel that Nikki Haley, although they disagree with her on taxation and disagree with her on women's rights, or they disagree with her on who she would appoint to the Supreme Court, or various things, they don't see her as somebody who could potentially end the country as an autocrat and suspend the Constitution. And so, maybe big picture, that's more important.
Agree. But if by chance Trump does make his way back into the White House, we could have a President Trump and a Vice President Trump. What? Lara Trump is admitting that she will happily be her father-in-law's vice president. She said the only drawback would be that I have to move to Washington, D.C. Oh, what a bummer for you. Is that realistic? He's not considering that. I mean, I know he's all in the family, but really?
I don't think that that's realistic, somebody that he's really considering. I think if he was going to give it to somebody in his family, I don't think it would be the wife of Eric either. It's hard to imagine the political upside of doing that. I mean, Donald Trump is a lot of things, but he's not stupid when it comes to politics, and his instincts in terms of where Republican-based voters are is pretty strong. He has a feel in terms of looking at ratings and looking at polls, and in a way that's almost like a savant. And I don't think that he would think that that is a risk worth taking. I think there's a lot of negative to that. And I think he wants to win. If he's going to do this, he wants to pick somebody that is going to help him. So I don't subscribe to the theory that he would pick Carrie Lake or Marjorie Taylor Greene, or somebody that he knows would alienate the middle of the country and not particularly help him that much. I think he wants to pick somebody who would help balance the ticket a little bit. Like Mike Pence is not somebody you would think of, obviously, as somebody who, necessarily jives with Donald Trump, but he knew that he needed to bring the evangelicals home. So he made a strategic decision and picked somebody who he wasn't that close with at the time. Certainly didn't leave being all that close with.
No,
but
that relationship's over.
Right. But I think he made a decision at the time that helped him at the time. And I would suspect if he was the nominee, somebody like Kristi Noem out of South Carolina, or even Sarah Huckabee Sanders, or, somebody, I would imagine probably a woman who's younger, who is very loyal to him and is going to follow the talking points, is who I would put money on as the Trump VP.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get to this actor, John Schneider. You might remember him from the Dukes of Hazzard, sliding over the car, running from the law. He apparently may now be remembered for something else, which is being one of these.
Masked Singer?
No, he was on the Masked. Yeah, he was on the Masked Singer. Apparently, in his spare time, he's a troll on the internet. Is what's happening, is going on. He had this social media post, which has now been deleted, but he said some pretty ugly things. It looks like he's a Trumper to the nth Trump degree. He said, and he's writing to President Biden, "Mr. President," he writes, "I believe you are guilty of treason and should be publicly hung." He said, "Your son too. Your response? ? Sincerely, John Schneider." So this comment was a reply to a post from Biden, which said Donald Trump, who is facing more than 90 criminal charges, poses many threats to our country. He is also now, because of what he wrote on the internet, under investigation by the Secret Service for threatening the president. Wow.
So we put him in the undecided camp. Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a week. First off, they took the mask off, and we saw him on The Masked Singer this week, and now this news, which is the first time that I think anybody's been talking about John Schneider in quite a while.
Exactly.
So he is making headlines for very different reasons across the country. I mean, I don't think anybody would seriously think he's trying to hang the president. Maybe, I mean, I doubt that. But it does. I think although you can look at this kind of as a joke, it illustrates the deeper point about what's happening in this country, which is this deep polarization and echo chamber universe that we live in, where people are getting such different information from different information sources, and they see the world entirely differently. Yeah. There is a right-wing ecosystem that sees Joe Biden as the most corrupt president in the history of the United States, who thinks that he's part of some criminal enterprise with his son Hunter, and that it's part of like a cabal of the Uniparty trying to bring everything down. And so they need to try to stop that as part of their mission. And then, of course, on the left wing, there's people that think that Donald Trump is a criminal, corrupt, the worst president in history, and anything needs to be done to stop it. And you have both of those universes existing at the same time without a lot of emphasis or, frankly, incentive for the middle to prosper based off of the way that social media is set up right now. And that's a really dangerous reality as we head into 2024. At the end of this, somebody's got to win. And traditionally, presidents have at least pretended to be interested in bringing the other side along and being the president for the whole country. That is something that Joe Biden talks about a lot. But Donald Trump was the first president in history that didn't really even pretend that he was trying to help the other side. In fact, sometimes took joy in not helping the other side when it comes to blue states and helping them along. And so that is really a concerning thing. As we move into a political year, which is probably going to be one of the ugliest campaigns we've ever seen.
It probably is, because we were divided before and things have only gotten more and more heated. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be really ugly. But we're still seeing things that happened in 2020 kind of filter through now. And so let's bring up this phone call, because we've all heard the Georgia phone call where he just wants to find enough votes. Now we have this phone call.
Votes.
Yeah, 11,700.
Whatever, the Secretary of State of Georgia, which he's under
Brad
investigation.
Raffensperger. That's right. But now we have another phone call that we haven't heard the audio from, but reporters have heard it from Detroit, and also CNN had noted it previously. This is a call where Trump pressures Michigan canvassers not to certify the 2020 election. And it's a recorded phone call. I'm sure that eventually that'll be, put out to the public, and we'll hear that as well. Yeah. But this is phone recordings received and reviewed by the Detroit press that show Trump personally pressuring two of the canvassers, the two Republican members of the Wayne County Board of Canvassers, not to sign the certification for the 2020 presidential election. And not only is Trump on this tape, but also Ronna McDaniel is on this tape as well, right? And she's saying, yes, we'll get you lawyers if you don't vote, what have you. How damning do you think this is? And does this enter as evidence in the case in Washington, D.C., the election interference case? Or is this another case that we could see another one brought in the state of Michigan?
Unclear in terms of the second part of your question on whether it will be a separate case in Michigan. All the reporting we've seen so far is that this is part of the evidence that Jack Smith is using in his case. It's part of the reason, to get back to the beginning of our conversation, why he thought it was so important to rush this thing along and get this trial going before Donald Trump could essentially squash it if he got control of the Justice Department as president again. And yes, the fact that this call in coordination with the Georgia call, it shows a pattern, right? And that sort of thing can be important when you're trying to show a criminal case, that the Georgia thing was not a one-off, that there was a strategic thing here. And the fact that it is Trump himself on the phone call and not somebody else, not just one of his underlings, will also show that he was a part potentially of the scheme, which is what the argument will be. Trump may try to plead ignorance, like these are my lawyers, I don't know what they were doing, I don't know anything about this. But the fact that he is there and says it, just like in the Mar-a-Lago case, when he has the documents that he's showing off that he wasn't supposed to have, the fact that in that recording he mentions the fact that he's not really supposed to have them shows a sort of consciousness and awareness of what's going on. He can't just plead like, I don't know what I'm doing, which is kind of what he would often do, even though he was the president of the United States. So I do think that evidence is significant. And I think it's also a reminder that there's probably a lot more evidence that Jack Smith has that we haven't seen yet. I mean, that indictment was pretty damning for anybody that read it. Both the Mar-a-Lago indictment and the January 6th indictment were pretty chock full of evidence, but he didn't have to put all the evidence in there. And if this thing does indeed go to a trial, there could be a lot more surprises ahead.
Do you have time for me to ask you a couple Governor Gavin Newsom questions?
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. First of all, I know you've traveled a lot with, I call him GovGav. You've traveled a lot with him. And I wonder if there have been a lot of people saying, well, look what he's doing with the debate of DeSantis, and look what he's going over to China and Israel and all these places. He's running for president. And he says, no, I'm not. No, I'm not running. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, he's not running for president right now. That's clear. I don't know of any world where he challenges Joe Biden as the presidential nominee. So as long as Joe Biden stays the presidential nominee, I think Governor Newsom will continue to do what he's been doing, which is to try to be one of his most visible surrogates.
Sure.
He insists that he's never thought of ever in his entire life ever being president ever. Which I don't think.
I don't buy it.
Why? So if you disagree with that premise, he certainly, I think, would be ready to run for president at a moment's notice. He's got a super PAC that he supports, that he's traveled around the country. He's in touch with donors. I mean, he's got a campaign apparatus. He's got an infrastructure in place where if tomorrow it was, Joe Biden dropped out and said, everybody have at it, I'm not going to endorse Kamala Harris, everybody's got a free run at this thing, I think he would have an opportunity to do that. Although we're starting to get late when it comes to some of the filing deadlines, and logistically that would be very hard to do at this point. But that is a possibility. And then, of course, he's potentially setting himself up for 2028, which we don't know what that would look like. And I think he has been trying to and been pretty good at making himself one of the top Democrats you think of in the country as a sort of heir apparent to Joe Biden. But there's a lot of Democrats that would like to see themselves that way, not to mention the person who is, next in line for the presidency, the vice president of the United States, who Gavin Newsom has known for 30 years and
buddies,
has a lot of the same campaign consultants and has had a close relationship with for a long time, not to mention other governors around the country, like Gretchen Whitmer, who has her own super PAC and has been doing her own travels around the country, and rising stars like Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania and Wes Moore of Maryland and Andy Beshear in Kentucky, who could make a strong argument why he would be the most electable person coming from a red state like that. Not to mention an entire Senate full of people who all see themselves as the next president of the United States, not to mention the cabinet members that all see themselves as president. So everybody thinks, and especially on the right, you keep hearing in right-wing media, or I see it in my social media all the time, that Gavin Newsom, they are going to install him as president. I still don't know who they is. That's not really how it works. And even if Gavin Newsom becomes a candidate, it's not a for sure thing at all that he would become the nominee. It would be a tough slog, but he would have a good chance.
Because we like him in California, but how he plays in the rest of the country, I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And traditionally, California Democrats have not been successful around the country. You look at Jerry Brown, you look at his father, Pat Brown, and other people who have tried to do it, or Kamala Harris, who couldn't even make it to the Iowa caucuses when she was running for president. Republicans, on the other hand, in California have been more successful, with Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon reaching the White House, but that was a very different time and a very different political universe.
You mentioned the Senate. So let's talk about the Senate race, because I'm a little surprised to see a Republican rising in the polls to challenge what seems to be a race with Adam Schiff, right? So we have a new poll. It's I think it's a Politico poll.
Yeah.
And they're putting now Adam Schiff at the top. I think they said 28% he had and everybody else is in the teens, but the next highest vote getter was Steve Garvey. And so that's a bit of a surprise. What do you think about the Senate race and what's happening with that?
I don't see it as that much of a surprise, because just to give people context of all this that may not live in California, you've got Adam Schiff, who is a huge name in national politics, running also against Katie Porter, who's a big name in national politics with her whiteboard, and Barbara Lee, who has been very famous over the years as a civil rights crusader and also being a strong anti-war voice in Congress, and Steve Garvey, who played for the Dodgers and the Padres, won the World Series and was an all-star and very, very famous back in the 70s and 80s and hasn't been as famous since. And they're all running against each other with a few other people in the race as well. In California, we have a system where the top two finishers advance, regardless of party. So it could be Democrat versus Democrat. It could be Democrat versus Republican or independent versus Republican. However it goes, that's who's going to advance. So the big question for our March 5th primary, where voting starts in February when people mail out the ballots, is who's going to be the top two? You think of California as a Democratic state because it is. We haven't had a Republican win a statewide election since Arnold Schwarzenegger did back in 2006. That being said, there's still a lot of Republicans in this state. In fact, more Republicans than any state in the country because, of course, we have more people than anywhere else in the country. So there's still a good 35, or so, 35, 40% of the state that is Republican. Yeah. And if all the Republicans coalesce behind one person and the Democrats split among Schiff and Porter and Lee, and there's Christina Pascucci, a journalist that's running, or other people that split it up, it is not inconceivable that Steve Garvey finishes in the top two and then is in a race with Schiff, which basically, from a math perspective, would mean that Schiff has won on March 5th, and there'd be a very uncompetitive, most likely race in the fall, although you never want to make predictions, and there's a reason people do these elections. If it ends up being Schiff versus Porter, you could see an extremely expensive, a very competitive intra-party fight, which may or may not help Democrats. I think there's two ways to look at it. In one hand, it means Republicans aren't showing up as much. That may help in some of the House races because Republicans don't have as much of a reason to vote. Or you could see it as hurting Democrats because so much money is going to be donated to Schiff and Porter when you're going to get a Democratic seat there anyways. That's money that could potentially go to some of those competitive House seats around the country, around the state, including Orange County, which may determine whether Democrats or Republicans control the House.
Last question I had for you was this effort by Newsom. Well, not an effort, he did block this effort to criminalize behavior at school board meetings. And we were talking earlier with John Schneider, not with John Schneider, but you and I were talking about John Schneider.
Interesting booking if you could get him.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I want him anymore. But talking about how people are behaving, and at all kinds of meetings around the country, whether it's city council meetings or school board meetings like this, people are getting nasty. And so Governor Newsom saying creating a new crime for people misbehaving at school board meetings is not necessary. And I don't know if that's if how I feel about that, because we're having a big problem right now. There, in some cases, cities or school boards are having to take the ability for people to appear online away completely, even though it increased accessibility, it increased ugliness. So
it's a tough thing, and I think as people get nastier, it's going to become an interesting and important discussion. This freedom of speech versus harassment, and it is a fine line. I think if you look at things that Newsom does through the prism of headlines that could be used against him in a presidential campaign, the slogan Newsom signs a bill that takes away the rights of parents to speak out might not be a great headline for him. So maybe it was helpful for him to say no to some of the things that the Democratic Party does. Who knows? But I think that question, regardless of this bill, will persist as people seem to have gone past the sort of decorum that used to be in place. Not that it always was in place when you think of the 60s and all the things people have done for protesting over the years. But it has gotten nastier and gotten personal and scary. This idea of protesting at people's houses, at doxing them, putting out their addresses, and at a time when we have 300+ million guns in this country, when we talked about those things about polarization and people feeling like the system is against them. It is not impossible to think that somebody is going to get killed because of this, and that may prompt a rethinking of what we're doing. It's too bad we can't have a more nuanced conversation about that before that happens.
Yeah. Elex Michaelson, host of The Issue Is, that's on most Fox networks, right?
Not only Fox, we're in every affiliate, or every market in California, some of them Fox, some of them CBS, some of them ABC, depending on where you are. So if you go to theissueisshow.com and where to watch, you can see where in your community you can see it. You can also watch the show there, or watch it at youtube.com/Elex Michaelson as well. If you don't live in California, we post there every week. And we have a podcast called The Issue Is, where you can listen to the show as well.
Awesome. I'm going to check it out. And what a total pleasure to meet you. I hope you'll come back on the show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. And please give my best to Mark.
I will do that.
Give him a cheers for whatever he's drinking right now.
He's really jealous that I got to interview you first. So woohoo. Thank you. Happy holidays to you too. And thanks for being here. Bye, Elex. What a treat to get to interview Elex Michaelson on the Mark Thompson Show. Okay, good thing.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's a really good thing that we had a supersized newscast earlier, because I want to get right to Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, bringing us some movie reviews, and I'm sure talking about the 49ers a little bit as well. Let's welcome him into the broadcast. It is Michael Snyder. He goes on a rainbow. Hi.
Hey, Merry Christmas. We're right on the verge of the Yuletide explosion. I'm so excited. I want to wish all of the listeners, and obviously Mark and Courtney aboard the SS Minnow or wherever they are right now, and you and your family, Albert, Tony, the entire universe, a happy holidays. And, happy day after winter solstice, everybody. Wait, is that a thing?
So many reasons to celebrate. Yes.
Whatever works. So
before we jump into it, let me thank a couple of people, because Jess Martinez just jumped in with a $5 super sticker. So I want to say thank you, and thank you for the nice words. And as did Jess Martinez again with a $2 super sticker. So thank you very much for supporting the show. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
No. It's greatly appreciated. They keep the lights on, and I love that. And it's a big weekend for the movies. There are films opening today in select markets. There's stuff on streaming services, and on Christmas Day, Monday, there'll be more openings. So let's get to it. I have a supersized Culture Blast. Shall we begin?
Bring it on, please. Yes.
Okay. With all these prestige movies during award season, let's lead with something decidedly mediocre. What do you say?
All right. Why not?
Okay. Not so much a glorified B movie as a shiny assembly line DC movie, right, as in DC Comics. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is a splashy, often frantic and eye-catching, but ultimately soggy sequel to the decent Aquaman movie from a few years ago, which was directed by James Wan. And he's the guy who was the driving wheel of the Conjuring, Insidious, and Saw film franchises. He's very comfortable in the horror realm, and he did a good job in the first Aquaman film, which introduced Jason Momoa's jocular, muscle-bound, half-human, half-Atlantean superhero, and eventually Justice League. Sorry? I mean, he's well muscled. Anyway, Justice League member Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, son of a lighthouse keeper and a royal queen of the undersea kingdom of Atlantis. So Curry, by the way, no relation to another superhero, Steph Curry, greatest shooter in basketball history, This scurry can swim like crazy, breathe underwater, wrestle a giant squid, and telepathically command sea creatures. In Lost Kingdom, Momoa's likable Arthur is married to his equally oceanic sweetheart, Mera, played once more by Amber Heard. You know, even in the wake of that court issue with Johnny Depp, you got to bring Amber Heard back as Mera.
Of course.
And they're the parents of a baby, Arthur Jr., who is already showing signs of his genetic background by commanding the goldfish in his grandfather's fish tank to swim in unison like, you know, aquatic ballet dancers.
Right.
That's a very cute moment. Yeah, one very cute moment. There's an electric eel in paradise, Kim, and that's the villainous Black Manta, who gets a hold of a magical black trident, which he's going to use to ramp up global warming and pollution, thereby destroying the world. But most of all, Manta wants to torment Aquaman by killing Mera, Arthur Jr., and Arthur's parents, again played by two very well-regarded Aussie actors, Tamura Morrison and a certain Nicole Kidman. Have you heard of her at all?
Maybe just a little bit.
Okay. Anyway, she plays Aquaman's mommy. Anyway, all because Manta's evil father died in battle with Arthur. That's what this is all about. So to have any chance of defeating Black Manta, Aquaman will have to free his imprisoned half-brother and former king of Atlantis, Orm, a nemesis in the previous Aqua movie, and played by another returnee, Patrick Wilson. So you got director Wan back at the helm of this gaudy ship, and there were a few rousing action sequences and creepy monsters, but a lot of overly busy high-tech computer game visuals that now border on tedious and kind of perfunctory, and a lot of weak humor and banter between Arthur and Orm. It's supposed to be funny, but anyway, only Momoa's charm and the commitment of the superior actors, Wilson, Kidman, Morrison, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Black Manta, and Randall Park as a Manta flunky, elevate this above disposable. By the way, this is the final movie in Warner Brothers DC Comics expanded cinematic universe that brought us the tepid Justice League, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash films, and it's going out with a whatever, and soon to be replaced by a new attempt to out-Marvel Marvel with a series of interlocked movies overseen by filmmaker James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad fame, and starting with a Superman reboot. Good luck, James Gunn. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is in theaters.
Okay. The next movie that you have to tell us about is, I'm trying to get to it.
It's The Color Purple. We're going to play this right here.
I'm excited about The Color Purple. I love the original movie, and I was wondering why they felt like they needed to remake it. But
my God, this is a question. You've stolen this question from my brain, Kim.
Okay.
Did we need a movie musical of The Color Purple?
Right.
Alice Walker's beloved 1982 novel, examining the struggles and triumphs of a group of close-knit Black women, one in particular, by the way, in the American South during the early part of the 20th century. Did we need it? We already had this acclaimed dramatic movie of the novel in 1985, and that was followed by a Broadway musical version of the story in 2005, which has now been brought to the big screen by producers Oprah Winfrey, who was in the cast of the 1985 movie, and Steven Spielberg, who directed that first film. And damned if this movie musical isn't an inspiring version of Walker's book about sisterhood, survival, and redemption, with some strong and soulful songs that are beautifully performed by the cast. And that cast, led by Fantasia Barrino as the plucky Celie, who has to face challenge after challenge in her life, Taraji P. Henson, who I have loved since she was on Person of Interest on CBS, as the free-spirited, upwardly mobile Shug here, and Danielle Brooks as the abused but undaunted Sophia, and they act like crazy and sing the bejesus out of these songs.
Wow.
The other players are also laudable. They include Coleman Domingo as the villainous but pitiable master, and I mean, it's a laundry list, but Corey Hawkins, Sierra, Anjanou Ellis-Taylor, her, Halle Bailey, the girl who played the Little Mermaid in the recent live-action Little Mermaid, the great David Alan Grier, the noble and wonderful Louis Gossett Jr., and John Batiste, who everybody loves. And, he has a small role here, but he's pretty wonderful. And if this doesn't reach the heights of the 1985 movie with Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah, I mean, that's an awfully high bar. I'll tell you what, this revival, directed by Blitz Bazawule, with spirit and tenderness, certainly revived me. The Color Purple in theaters on Christmas Day.
Very cool. Let's talk about the Iron Claw.
All right. In a remarkable feat of dramatization, director and screenwriter Sean Durkin took the true saga of the Von Erich pro wrestling clan and forged the Iron Claw, a constantly fascinating, surprising, and tragedy-tinged movie about aspiration, family dysfunction, and, for better or worse, personal determination. In the 1980s, the intensely loyal Von Erich brothers were driven by their father, a former wrestler himself, to fight their way out of regional matches with the goal of doing what he never did, and that's win a national pro wrestling championship belt. As far as the movie itself, I was extremely impressed by Zac Efron from High School Musical and Me and Orson Welles. He's, as we've never seen him before. His portrayal of brother Kevin Von Erich is a marvel of sheer will and physical fury in the face of pain. And he is matched in intensity by Jeremy Allen White. That's right, Carmy from The Bear on FX as brother Kerry Von Erich. Harris Dickinson as brother David Von Erich, and Holt McCallany as their domineering father Fritz, who is the embodiment of toxic masculinity, whose signature wrestling move, the Iron Claw, which gives the movie its name, was passed down to his sons. Plus, you get the always excellent chameleon Lily James. That's right, from Downton Abbey to Pam and Tommy to the portrayal of Kevin's devoted Midwestern-style sweetheart. And Maura Tierney as Doris Von Erich, long-suffering wife to Fritz and mother to the boys. Kudos to Durkin and his cast for the Iron Claw, a gut punch and a body slam of a movie that may hurt your heart and should linger in your mind long after you see it. It's in theaters. And, it's not in my top 10 this year, but it's among my favorite films of 2023.
Does it have anything to do with the TV show Heels?
I no idea.
No idea? Okay, because it's also based on wrestling and a family with brothers that are involved in wrestling. And another interesting show.
That's interesting. Wait. That smacks of so similar that it's got to be inspired by the Von Erichs, don't you think?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure. So I'll have to look it up and see if there's any relation or any connection there. Yeah,
okay, let's drive forward, and I use the word drive specifically because I'm talking about Ferrari. Director Michael Mann's Ferrari, and that's his movie, not his car, takes on the story of Italian sports car legend Enzo Ferrari, the ex-Formula One racer and head of Ferrari Motors, to tell a tale of ambition and obsession set in the early 50s. So Mann, for those who don't know, was the creator of the TV series Miami Vice, and he went on to direct Heat and Ali, among other memorable movies, and now he's got Ferrari. So motoring forward, get it? Motoring forward through intimate scenes of familial strife and thrilling segments replete with the excitement and danger of racing, Ferrari ultimately satisfies, regardless of its primary focus being only one significant slice of Ferrari's life. For a biopic, that's pretty narrow, but it works. And that's largely due to the segments presenting propulsive action from the Formula One racing season of 1957. In his second recent performance as a significant Italian figure, after his role in House of Gucci, Adam Driver does a better job of nailing an accent, believe me, and delivering a measure of gravitas as Enzo Ferrari, whose marriage was shaken by tragedy and undermined by betrayal. But Driver is outdone by Penelope Cruz, the great Penelope Cruz. She offers a truly complex characterization as Enzo's wife, Laura, who, despite the hurt she felt at playing second fiddle to Enzo's mistress, here played by Shailene Woodley, was an astute business mind and crucial to the success of the Ferrari company Alas, that company is facing bankruptcy in 57, and Enzo is determined to risk it all by pushing his team on the racing circuit to win one major race, as treacherous as it might be. And if you'd like to see a man gambling with his life and livelihood while his employees gamble with their lives at high speeds, Ferrari will do the trick. It's in theaters on Christmas Day. Yeah, flawed, but I thought pretty damn good.
But Adam Driver's okay in this, huh?
Yeah, I mean, he's outdone in some ways by Penelope Cruz.
Sure,
but he's solid in this thing.
Okay.
All right, we got some quickies. Shall we get to some quickies?
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay, although it might be overlooked in the end-of-year torrent of high-profile movies trolling for awards, like I was saying earlier, the relatively modest Memory is an emotionally volatile and moving showcase for two actors at the top of the craft, Jessica Chastain and Peter Sarsgaard. This is a mature tearjerker from writer and director Michel Franco about the unexpected relationship between Sylvia, a damaged woman, a recovering alcoholic, working for social services and parenting her daughter, and Saul, a man she encounters at their high school reunion. So Sylvia, obviously played by Chastain, is holding it together as best as she can, but Sarsgaard's Saul, with troubles of his own and a brother, played by Josh Charles, desperately trying to help him, throws the delicate balance of Sylvia's life awry. Memory floats and sails and rattles on the strength of its leads, and they are mighty indeed. It's what we might call difficult viewing, but definitely rewarding. Memory in theaters this weekend, select theaters, if you will.
Okay.
I hope for.
Go ahead.
No, you. Okay. I hope for more fireworks from Freud's Last Session, which is a dramatization of a possible series of encounters in London, England, between the father of psychiatry, Sigmund Freud, ill but trying to hang on to life for the sake of his daughter Anna, and fantasy novelist C.S. Lewis, dealing with fear and trauma as World War II ramps up around them all. Okay, you got the unimpeachable Anthony Hopkins as Freud, and the fine British character lead Matthew Good as Lewis. So expectations were high, but director and co-screenwriter Matthew Brown's movie didn't particularly move or enlighten me, and it was actually kind of drab, like war-torn London looks in Freud's Last Session. That said, whenever Hopkins acts, it's a master class. So it's almost enough to recommend it. It is in select theaters. It's called Memory. Okay, I've been waiting to see this movie for a couple of weeks. I finally caught up to it. Hold on to your wigs and keys. Godzilla -1. I mean, it's shocking when you consider the success and impact of recent American productions featuring the apex of Japanese monsters, being, of course, Godzilla. Yeah. Godzilla -1 is a new blockbuster from Toho Studios in Japan, original home of the gargantuan radioactive dino lizard, and it is arguably the best Godzilla movie since his debut in 1954's Godzilla.
Oh, high praise. Nice.
Right. In the waning years of World War II, in this film, a kamikaze pilot crashes near a Japanese encampment on an island in the Pacific and encounters a gigantic prehistoric lizard along with everyone else at the encampment. And, chaos ensues. So after the war, and in the wake of American atom bomb tests in the Pacific, the ex-pilot, disgraced and guilt-stricken because he survived the global conflict and never, crashed into an American destroyer, tries to build a life for himself amid the ruins of Japan, and he finds himself as the father figure in a de facto nuclear family, but that dino lizard, presumably irradiated by the atomic explosions, has grown and lurks in the waters off Japan. So, what if this enormous creature decides to attack? Yeah, what if? Anyway, a group consisting of the ex-pilot, some fellow military vets, and scientists may be the only hope for the salvation of their country and humanity. Director, screenwriter, and head of special effects, Takashi Yamazaki, has made a magnificent kaiju movie, kaiju being the Japanese word for these giant monsters. And this is a high point in the franchise. And by the way, he made this purportedly at a fraction of the Warner Brothers Legendary Pictures Monarch movies that feature Godzilla and King Kong. This is of genre. This is as good as it gets. It's in select theaters where it should be seen if you can catch it.
Anyone But You.
A painfully predictable romantic comedy. Short on laughs and long on silly mishaps. Anyone But You. It's middling fare for the holidays, only with little or no Christmas trappings. So here's the deal. Two attractive urbanites meet cute and sparks fly until a misunderstanding the very next day snuffs any possible romance. Months later, still sniping at one another, by the way, they have to try and act civil when they both attend a destination wedding in Australia. And to be fair, this hoo-ha is elevated by the teaming of Sydney Sweeney, the feline cutie pie from TV's Euphoria and The White Lotus, and the sexy leather-clad focal point of the Rolling Stones' recent video promoting the song Angry, and square-jawed Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick and Devotion, and it renders it somewhat tolerable due to decent chemistry between the leads. But it fritters away their charm and the skills of an able supporting cast, including Dermot Mulroney, Rachel Griffiths, Brian Brown, Michelle Hurd, and Alexandra Shipp. Now, this is all the more disheartening since director and co-screenwriter Will Gluck has done so much better with the snarky Emma Stone teen comedy Easy A, and those two recent very good-natured and droll Peter Rabbit movies. Yeah, Anyone But You is pretty much a throwaway that I just kind of felt like throwing away. It's in theaters.
The Teacher's Lounge.
Ooh. It's got this cinema verite feel to it, and The Teacher's Lounge is unquestionably one of the best foreign language movies of 2023 and Germany's Oscar entry. It is a superb depiction of the trials and tribulations of a good and dedicated first-time high school teacher whose best intentions and desire to figure out who's responsible for a series of thefts on campus lead to a firestorm of like anger and recrimination. So as her colleagues on the teaching staff, various school administrators, parents, and students enter the fray, the truth of things remains elusive, and the teacher finds herself fighting for her career and her honor on multiple fronts. At least one sudden shock left me stunned at the events of The Teacher's Lounge as they played out. Praise due to director and co-screenwriter Ilker Katek, actress Leonie Benish as Polish immigrant teacher Karla Nowak, and the rest of the cast, including the kids, who seem realer than real in The Teacher's Lounge. It'll be in select theaters on Christmas Day.
Sounds like a good one. I might put that on my list.
If you can get a hold of it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I got a couple of animated movies, for the whole family.
Yeah. Good.
What do you say?
Yeah, let's bring it. Migration.
Okay, so I mentioned The White Lotus earlier because Sydney Sweeney is in it, and Mike White was the creator, writer-director of that wonderful series and such terrific movies as School of Rock. And coincidentally, he co-wrote Migration, the new animated feature from Universal's Illumination Studios, home of Gru and the Minions, etc. So Migration is migration, though. It won't make you want to migrate out of the theater, but it is hardly up to White's witty standards. That said, it's well animated and has some lively and amusing moments, but it's not any great shakes of a tail feather, Here's the premise. A family of ducks. Here's a family of ducks. They're led by Father Mac. He is a mallard who wants to stay in their home pond rather than fly south for the winter. He's a little,
lazy.
Yeah, he's lazy. He's also... Yeah, he just doesn't want to endanger the family, I guess.
Okay.
But Mama Duck Pam and the ducklings are eager to follow a friendly flock to sunny Jamaica. And along with their goofy Uncle Dan, they convince Dad to make the journey. That results in a series of misadventures in the treacherous concrete canyons of the big city and an encounter with a cleaver-wielding chef who has acquired a bunch of fowl with the intent of cooking them up at his high-end restaurant. The voice actors include Kumail Nanjiani as Mac, Elizabeth Banks as Pam, Danny DeVito, that old scene stealer, even verbally, as Uncle Dan, as well as Awkwafina, Keegan-Michael Key, Carol Kane, and from Peep Show in the UK, David Mitchell. Migration will keep kids engaged and won't insult adults, and that's about it. It's in theaters. I do have a better cartoon.
Yeah, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget.
Okay, so 23 years after 2000's Chicken Run, a sequel arrives from England's Aardman Animation, and though it's not anywhere near as good as the first run, Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget is notably better than a couple of the more recent stop-motion animated movies from Aardman, best known as home to the wonderful Wallace and Gromit cartoons. Mm-hmm. So the chickens of the first movie escaped captivity and have built a society on an island where they're safe from humans who want to eat them. Anyway, Ginger, voiced by Tandaway Newton, and Rocky, voiced by Zachary Levi, even have hatched a feisty little offspring. But on the nearby mainland, other chickens are endangered, and Ginger and Rocky's kid is soon one of them, forcing the island chickens into action. So Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget, is fun much of the time and certainly visually stimulating, and it has a decent message about the cruelty of animal farming for mass consumption. Nonetheless, it falls short of the first Chicken Run, and I'm not chicken to say so, even as a fan of many, though not all, of the Aardman animation projects. But it is better and more interesting than Migration, with which it shares some plot elements, as should be audible, the endangered potential dinner situation, which is ongoing in both movies. The thing about Chicken Run is it's in theaters and streaming now. So if you want to see it, you can just jump right on in.
Well, it's winter break, so a lot of people have their kids home. So this movie might do very well as people look for something new to watch.
It's worth checking out with the family. Absolutely.
Something else we have coming up. This is on TV on Christmas Day. I think it's the 49ers playing.
Oh my God. So I am preparing to either, usually you want to dine out on Christmas Day with your friends or go to someone's house. I am just going to get some, Korean chicken wings and a spinach salad and plop myself down and watch 49ers Ravens, the two top records in the NFL. The AFC leader being the Ravens and the NFC leader being our 49ers. And it's going to be a titanic battle that might be a preview of the Super Bowl. And I would like Brock Purdy and company to continue quieting the doubters on Monday night with a handy victory over the Baltimore Ravens, getting a small measure of revenge for the Niners-Ravens Super Bowl that didn't go our way. And hopefully, previewing another Niners victory come Super Bowl time. I got my fingers crossed.
Any TV series we should be looking at for the week ahead?
Shalhoub, the TV series.
I never watched it.
It's so entertaining. Tony Shalhoub plays a incredibly neurotic detective who is brilliant and incisive. Like if Columbo had every manner of tics and OCD and didn't have a wife and was sort of a misanthrope, that's Monk. And the last episode aired over a decade ago, and Tony Shalhoub, of course, has been on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and other TV programs and movies. And Peacock just dropped about a week or so ago, Mr. Monk's Last Case, a Monk movie, which brings back most of the principal actors from the TV series in a very entertaining movie-length mystery. So you get Ted Levine as Captain Stottlemyre, you get Traylor Howard as Monk's assistant, and various other actors show up, pay their respects to Tony and the project by being in it. And I entertained. It diverted me for an hour and a half. And
nice.
One more quick note: Reacher, about the hulking do-gooder and former army man who just travels the country righting wrongs, is back with the second season featuring the massive Alan Ritchson as the noble hobo of sorts, Reacher. And man, you don't want to mess with this guy. He is a mountain of a human being. And these Reacher shows are wonderful. And it was so weird to me that the Reacher movie that came out featured diminutive Tom Cruise as the title character.
Yeah.
You'd have to like this guy, Alan Richardson, looks like he's eaten a couple of Tom Cruises. That's how big he is.
Awesome. Michael Snyder, thank you for your support of the show all year, for being part of everything. You're awesome. Have a great holiday weekend and go 49ers.
You too, Kim, and season's greetings to everybody. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Michael Snyder. He comes and goes on a rainbow.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. All right, that is the show. I do hope that you will join me on the After Party Live. That is coming up next. A couple people to say thank you to. Definitely thank you to Beth Farmer for a $20 super sticker. Merry Christmas to the Mark Thompson Show crew. Merry Christmas to you too, Beth Farmer. What a lovely thing to do. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who has supported the show. We're very grateful. I hope that you have, if you celebrate Christmas, you have a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful holiday. If you have some time off, have a great time off. Enjoy the 49ers game. This show is dark on Christmas Day. We will be back on Tuesday with David K. Johnston. So please join us on Tuesday and join me next for the After Party Live as well. Thank you for being part of this whole Mark Thompson Show experience, for all the ways you support the show. Find us at themarkthompsonshow.com if you'd like more information. And thank you to Karen Cooper. Kim, I may miss the after party. No. Meli Kaliki Maka, mahalo for spending so much time with us on the Nikki
for the Mark Thompson Show.
After Party.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Karen Cooper. Thanks to Beth Farmer. Thanks to everyone. Bye-bye. We'll see you next time. Merry Christmas, everyone.